Howdy y'all, Strix here. UPS came by yesterday and dropped off the newest piece of my backpacking gear. It's something I've wanted to purchase for a couple of years now, and I am thrilled beyond belief that it's finally here. This is a Marmot Plasma 15 degree down bag. It's got a shell made of Marmot's Pertex quantum material, which is ridiculously lightweight, but they do also say that it is very, very durable. Only time's really going to tell on that. I can tell you what it feels like, but only time will tell if it's truly durable. It's 900 fill goose down in the bag, and it seems like it's quite comfortable. Total weight comes in at just under 2 pounds, 1 pound 14 ounces for the regular. This is the regular, I'm only 5'7". The long, I believe, is 2 pounds, but it seems like it is very high quality and a wonderful, innovative bag. As you can tell, the baffles run vertically as opposed to horizontally. Now, I'm not 100% sure of all the benefits of that. I understand that they say it gives you a better thermal coefficient throughout the bag, so your body is more evenly heated. They do put in horizontal flow gates, although I haven't been able to find them with my hands to stop the down from shifting from one portion to the other. And I've also read that those flow gates are adjustable to where you can push the down to where you want it depending on your particular body. I don't know how much of that is true compared to how much of that is hearsay. Only time will tell. But it does seem like it's very good quality. I like that it has this draft tube that runs the entire length of the zipper to stop any cold air that might get through the zipper from getting into the bag. It also has a draft collar that snaps into place with not one but 2 snaps, which I really like. And of course a couple of cinch cables, one for the draft collar on the inside and one for the opening of the sleeping bag itself. They also went ahead and put in a little bit more down here inside the hood. Gives a nice little pillow effect, I suppose. We'll see if that's enough as far as a pillow is concerned. One thing I noticed that the hood feels and fits very, very well. I really like that. So it came in, time to test it. Tonight's low is 28 degrees, and there's a nice little spot on Falls Lake that's not too far away from my house where I figure would be a great spot to test it. I'm also going to take it to the next level in testing and not test it in my tent. I do have a Marmot Limelight 3-person, but I am going to be testing it in my Eno double nest hammock. I do have a rain fly for it. It is January, so I highly doubt I will need the bug net. But I do not have an underquilt for the hammock. So I'm on the water. Low is 28, which means it's 25 on the water, maybe a couple degrees below that. It might be cold, might not. It's definitely going to be a really good test for the bag. So I'm looking forward to that. And I figured since the bag came in and I'm doing a video on the bag, of course I can talk specs all day long, but what really matters is how it behaves out in the field. So a further review will definitely come for that. But since I'm doing this on the bag, I might as well go over my gear list. Now, I'm a big believer in saying that whether you're going for 1 night or going for 5 nights, you pretty much bring the same amount of gear. The only thing that changes is your food, maybe also your water. But I figured this was a good time to go ahead and go over what gear I bring with me in general in my backpack. And yeah, here we go. Alright, so this is slightly different than my backpacking gear list that I did a few months ago for our annual week-long AT hike, section hike, and that being that I'm going solo, so I'm bringing my hammock and whatnot as opposed to bringing the tent. But I figure a good place to start is in the back. Food. Sea to Summit dry bag. I believe that's a 13 liter, which is good because it can fit food for me personally for over a week, and if I'm carrying some food for others, if there's more than one person going out, I can carry food for up to 3 people for about 5 days in that. So gotta have food. Also food. We got our snack bag here. Now, as far as food bag, that's pretty much dinners and breakfasts in that one. Lunches and snacks, things that need to be grabbed quickly and will be eaten as camp is in its backpack form, not in its out camp form. Food will be eaten out of this. So lunches and fruits and snacks and whatnot will all go in there, and that's just because this, to keep the weight low and in on the pack, this, which is normally pretty heavy, is down at the bottom end of the pack, just above my sleeping bag, and this stays near the top of the pack, so it's quick and easy to reach. It's nothing worse than being hungry and having your backpack on and having to go rummaging through your backpack to get it. Touching on food, moving on to how to prepare said food. I kind of overpack. I definitely don't go ultra lightweight, and I'm not really that light in weight. Normally on a multi-day trek on a trail, I'm probably 28 to 32 pounds. Which is not too bad as far as I'm concerned, but I do bring my jet boil. In the jet boil's got a little fuel canister, as well as my favorite thing in the world, and that being jet boil's coffee press. And that's why no matter what I do, no matter what other things I buy for preparing food, the jet boil is just really high up on the list. It's really great. I believe this is the Flash model. And cooks well, can cook well for 2 people. 3 people kind of pushing it, you got to boil water more than once. And as I said before, that coffee press is absolutely brilliant. What I really like about jet boil is everything I need with it fits inside of it, and it's even got a little spot to go with sporks. Sporks, these are Snow Peak titanium sporks. They are brilliant. I love them, love them, love them, because the dip in the spoon is low enough that it can be used as a spoon for eating, soups and anything liquidy, but yet the prongs, especially these 2 center prongs, are also long enough so that you can really, really get in and dig in some food. So kudos to Snow Peak for making that. If I had one nitpicky way to go about doing things and to criticize, the only thing I would ask is that this was about 1.5 centimeters, maybe 2 centimeters longer, just because if you're digging and eating out of a Mountain House bag, you really got to get in there and you're holding it with just the tips of your finger. But again, that's me being nitpicky. Don't need to be nitpicky. Great creation by Snow Peak. Sticking with Snow Peak, this is the Snow Peak Trek 900 mug. I really enjoy this for a couple of reasons. I originally bought it for going ultra lightweight and getting just a small burner, and then this is a hell of a lot lighter than this. I did that once, and I missed my coffee press, so I wind up bringing the jet boil anyway. If there's more than one of us, not everybody has their own jet boil or own cup to eat and or drink out of, so I'll bring this for a second cup, the 900 mug. Which is a great cup, and it's extremely lightweight, and what I really like about it is it fits one of the big fuel canisters. So I won't necessarily need the big fuel canister for this trip. It's only one night, but on multi-days it's great to be able to have a backup that's bigger than your primary. Just love it. That also does have a lid to it that doubles as a frying pan. Really cool feature, but I won't need a frying pan on this trip, so I won't be bringing that. Water here, water here. I normally bring, on backpacking trips, 4 liters of water, 2 in bottle form, which is enough water for making dinner and making breakfast for myself and maybe one other, as well as water to drink whilst at camp. Water drinking during the day, as hiking, I keep in its bladder form. That's an Osprey hydroform, which I love this design, by the way. It stops it from falling down when it's in your pack, and it's got a nice curved finish to it, and the lid, I used to say is a lot easier than Nalgene's lid to get off, or Camelback, excuse me, Camelback's lid, but I think Camelback has heard enough complaints about that and they've changed their lid design, so it works a lot better. That's a 3-liter bladder. Normally, when I go out, I'll only put about 2 liters in it, because 2 liters is plenty for, just drinking whilst you're hiking throughout the day. I like the 3-liter design though, because for day hikes, when I'm taking just my day pack and my only water is in my bladder, I'll go ahead and fill that all the way, especially in the summertime when you need more water. Might as well talk about water, might as well go right to water filtration. This is a Katadyn Hiker Pro. Really, really cool. I went with the Hiker Pro as opposed to the Hiker because it has a 2-stage filter instead of a 1-stage filter. This also comes not only with the same internal filter, the 1-stage filter that I believe gets down to 0.0 or 0.1, excuse me, microns in size, which is really cool. But there's a second ceramic filter that wraps around that that gets particles up to 15 microns, so dirt and debris and whatnot, they don't get in and damage the internal filter that's there to take care of protozoa, bacteria, and viruses and other nasty stuff. And that external filter, the wraparound ceramic filter, is field cleanable. So it's really cool. If you're pulling from a really muddy, nasty area, you can go ahead and clean it up right up afterwards, and you don't have to worry about slow pumping forever and ever for the rest of your trip until you can get home and clean it. I do recommend cleaning it after every trip, depending on how much you use. I normally back flush it with a little bit of bleach, and then rinse it out very well, because you don't want bleach in there either. And then definitely let it dry. I've read, never happened to me personally because I let them dry after cleaning them out, but mold can very easily grow inside that filter if you just clean it and rinse it and close it all back up. So let it dry thoroughly before doing it. Towel, I like to have two towels. One is for not necessarily the cleanest things in the world, just wiping up myself or wiping up things around camp that need to be wiped up and dried. Once dishes are clean, I use this towel inside of here to go ahead and clean those. The reason I bring two towels is cross-contamination is probably the #1 reason why people get sick in the wilderness. So I don't want to, wipe off my hands with this towel and then turn around and clean my dishes with that towel and then wind up getting sick to my stomach whilst I'm out in the wilderness. That sounds like it would suck very badly. Anyway, moving along. This is my sleeping pad. It's a ProLite by Thermarest. Great sleeping bag. Just doesn't conform to my whole body, but right down to my knees pretty much is on it, and it does really well. I won't be on the ground this trip. Clearly I'll be in the hammock, but since I don't have an underquilt, I would like as much insulation under me as possible, being on the water in case the winds kick up, and hopefully that'll help out a little bit. First aid kit. This big green bag here is a first aid kit. I recommend a first aid kit because you never know what's going to happen. 99 times out of 100, I'd say this has not been opened, has not been used. But that one time out of 100 that you need to open it, you need to use it, you want it there. I also recommend going through your first aid kit and making sure it conforms to whatever it is you're doing, what activities you're doing, because there's no sense, having stuff in there to take care of, insect bites when it's the middle of winter and you get a bad laceration. So, and always also check through it every now and then. I remember when I broke out my first aid kit for the first time in years, I went in to use just one of those little antiseptic wipes and found that it was 100% dry. There was no antiseptic left inside of it. So that stuff expires just like everything else does. So keep an eye on your first aid kit, keep it updated, and go through it every time. Fire making materials go in the red bag. I normally find some tinder. I do bring homemade tinder, cotton balls soaked in some Vaseline out with me just in case it's wet, or just because in case there aren't too many natural tinders around that are going to work. I'll use that and it'll help. In there is also a lighter as well as some fire starters, because even though I enjoy making fires the old-fashioned way with a flint and striker that is in there and some tinder, sometimes it's wet, sometimes you're cold, sometimes you just want to fire as quickly as possible, and fire starters, I'm sorry, it's the quickest way to get there. There are electronics coming out with me, namely the camera, and as well as my iPhone, which I dumped some TV episodes on there so I can keep myself entertained at night when it's cold. To recharge said things, I've got my Power Traveler Solar Monkey right here. Love this thing to death. Got it shortly before going on the AT trip this year, the section hike, and it worked like a charm. And to recharge that, this thing is the best thing possible, as well as the camera. It will not recharge laptops. It's not powerful enough. It has a small internal battery, but that's fine. When I go backpacking, I don't schlep a laptop with me. So as long as it'll charge cameras, phones, I believe it'll also charge tablets, but I don't bring a tablet out with me. Love the Power Traveler Solar Monkey. Good investment. I recommend it. Gloves. It is going to be cold, so my hands are going to need some insulation just like everything else on me. I do bring 2 sets of gloves. One of these Black Diamond Polar Tech fleece gloves, which are pretty good for insulation. To be honest, they're not the best things in the world, and I will probably wind up upgrading as time goes on. But it keeps my hands nice and warm when I'm hiking, or if I'm not really using my hands too much throughout the day or evening. At the same time, though, sometimes you need to chop firewood, sometimes you need to build a shelter, sometimes you want to make yourself a chair or something, whatever it might be, you're going to be using your hands. And you don't want to damage your fleece gloves as you're using your hands. And at the same time, you don't want your hands totally exposed, which is why I went with these fingerless gloves. Great investment. They were like $7 or $8 on Amazon. Really cheap. They're wool, so they're not the softest thing in the world, but they do exactly what you need them to do. They keep your hand insulated, they keep you warm, but they also give you the option to use your fingertips, so you can swing your hatchets and swing your knives and break your firewood without worrying about tearing up your nice insulating fleece gloves. Moving on to firewood and shelter and all that other good stuff, I do like to bring paracord out with me. These are both 550 7-strand power cords. Don't remember the colors exactly. I think this was copperhead and this just looks like a green to me. Each one of these is about 10 meters, 33 feet or so. I would say that's a good length to bring out with you. I bring 2 because I like to be redundant. I know I'm going to use 1 to string underneath the rainfly on the hammock, to just hang stuff up underneath the hammock. If nothing else, maybe a headlamp or lantern or something to that effect. But I do like to be redundant. I like to have more things than I need, and at the end of the day, it really isn't that much weight. As far as redundancies are concerned with the fire bag, sometimes you need something with a little punch to get the fire going. And this will get a fire going in a hurry. It's a nice little windproof butane little jet that seems to get the fire starters going pretty quickly. So if I ever use the fire starters, I'll just break this out of the pack and use it. It doesn't really weigh too much. Knife sharpeners. I do have a small little knife sharpener just in case this one gets lost or broken or something like that happens. But I love this thing. It's the DC4 Sharpstone by Falcon Knives. It does have a diamond black plate to it here for your coarse sharpening, and for your really fine stuff, it's got a lot of ceramic right here. So, I bring a couple of nails that are tucked inside. If I can get them out, here we go. And I'll put one in front and one behind just to, keep it stationary, and then run my knife upon it to sharpen it if necessary, because a dull knife is a very dangerous tool. You don't want to have one. You don't want to use it. Speaking of knives, and speaking of redundancy, I like to have a backup. My primary, and I absolutely love this. I've only had it for about 4 months now, but it's been brilliant. It's done everything I've asked of it and more. I've used the ferrocerium rod and the magnesium a little bit, but not that much. I pretty much keep that in here for, God forbid, something crazy happens. I lose my pack, and I only have one thing to try to survive on. This will be on my hip. So I guess all in all, each one of these is probably 8 feet long, if I were to guess. So 24, 25 feet maybe, all in all. A lot of paracord, and paracord has 1,000,001 uses. Sheath is a nice Kydex sheath, form-fitting, easy to get out, but also holds it secure. It's a Fieldcraft Brothers of Bushcraft knife by Tops Knives, and as you can see, I've beat the ever-loving hell out of it. I could talk on and on and on about this knife, everything from the micarta handles that the more you use it, the more comfortable it feels. The little notches that are designed for you to hold it in place when you're whittling or doing small work, that's absolutely great. The little notch that's put here in case you're using a bow drill setup, it stops the bow drill from either A, tearing up your hand, or B, if you use a rock or something with your bow drill, stops it from sliding out from underneath the rock, which happens a lot. Also another notch here, and that's for using that ferrocerium rod. But I recommend, if you're going to do that, keep it in the sheath. Use the ferrocerium rod to get something started, just because you're flinging around a blade, which is ridiculously sharp. When I got it, it was very easily shaving hair off of my arm, and it still to this day is, which is ridiculous because I beat the hell out of it. I sharpened it whilst I was out on the AT on night 4, but since then I haven't sharpened it, and it holds an edge ridiculously well. Another good thing about Tops Knives is if for one reason or another I damage the blade and need a new factory edge put on, I pay for the shipping, they put the edge on, which is great. Backup knife. Not a big fan of the Bear Grylls line. I'm going to go out and say that right now. I think for the most part, it's a commercial thing that he's doing, and the quality of 95% of the Bear Grylls line just really isn't there. Part of the reason why I tried to cover up the Bear Grylls logo, which was in bright orange. This is Bear's paracord knife. It does have a good edge. It's a really good backup contingency knife. It's not something that I would really baton with, but it has good jimping on the back, almost as good as the Tops knife. Good jimping on the back, and it's good for working with. I've really never used it because it is just a backup knife. It did come with bright orange paracord, which I did not like, which is why I swapped it out with the green, and I think it looks a lot better at least. Bear's signature on there, whatever. I can live with that. I really wish it didn't have this Bear Grylls logo. I know the first run of these had the Bear Grylls logo on one side, and on the back side it didn't, and I was hoping that was the case. I even took off the, the part of the sheet the belt runs through, and yet on the other side there was still a bright orange Bear Grylls logo. So, what can you do? Win some, lose some. Another item that I probably won't be bringing out with me, but I love it so, is my hatchet. Not the best hatchet in the world. I'm actually looking to buy a Schrade survival hatchet here in the near future to try out, but I got this SOG hand axe shortly before the AT trip, and it worked brilliantly. There was one night where it was really hard to find wood, and the one bit of wood that we did find was attached to a tree, probably because we were at a shelter, and staying at shelters suck, but I pretty much had to cut down a dead segment of a very big live tree, and this is what helped do it. But I probably won't need it for this trip. To be honest, if you know how to baton and baton well, you can use the Tops knife for anything and everything that you would use the hatchet for. The only thing that it has going for it is the fact that it's easy to drive in tent stakes and hammock stakes, obviously, with that bit. But really, really, really good, solid hatchet. My only complaint, which is another reason why I have these wood gloves, is probably that the grip is not comfortable at all, to be honest. After you use it for a few minutes, if you're not wearing gloves and you don't have calluses on your hands, it's not going to feel comfortable to you. So something to think about long and hard before purchasing one. It is a great knife, great hatchet though, for what it is and what its price was. Jumping also onto just little things I like to bring out with me. I do like a magnifying glass. A, if we're out in the wilderness and we're looking at maps, this makes things a lot easier. B, if you need to start a fire and you want a way that's kind of creative, this really helps. And C, also for a little bit of fun, I like to solar puff, and there's nothing like using the sun's rays to get things going. Illumination, big fan of illumination, and also we were talking about Snow Peak a little bit ago. This is the Snow Peak Snow Miner headlamp, and I love it because it's a combination of two things. It is a brilliant headlamp that is 80 lumens, which is a little low, I guess, compared to some headlamps out there. But I honestly can't tell the difference between 80 lumens, 100 lumens, 150 lumens. Maybe if you're doing nighttime trail running, there's a difference, but to me, that doesn't do nighttime trail running, there's no difference. Coolest feature about this is the fact that it goes from being a spotlight, which, has a high setting. It also has a low setting, 8 lumens, I believe that is. It has a strobe setting, which is kind of annoying, and it is also adjustable with a dimmer feature to figure out what light level you want. Beyond that, it's not only a spotlight. Boom. It's an interior lantern, which turns your spot illumination into ambient illumination, which is great. Comes with a convenient little hook on the back, so you can hook it up inside your tent or hammock or wherever, and I love it to death. I've been using it like crazy since I got it. Great investment, saves a lot of weight so you don't have to lug around a lantern. But again, I do like to be redundant, and not all the times I've been out with people have they remembered to bring things like illumination. So I also bring my Petzl, another headlamp. This one seems like the battery is just about dead because that's not that bright. It does have a bunch of different features, a bunch of different settings. My only complaint with it is that it does not have a red light. But, oh well, can't always get what you want. This is 100 lumens, but like I said, 100 lumens, 80 lumens, I can't see the difference. Sleeping. These are tent stakes from my Marmot Limelight tent, because I just haven't bought tent stakes for the hammock just yet, and I figure why buy another one, because those will work just fine. Double nest hammock, which we already discussed, will probably be a little too cold. Straps, I went with the Atlas straps, which I think was a good investment. $10 more than the standard straps, and everybody raves about them. I have had no complaints. Very convenient and very, very easy to set up. This is an underbelly gear loft. It's pretty much a little hammock for the hammock, so you keep your gear off the ground, which is great. And then a rain fly. No need for a bug net, again, because it is January. Probably no need for a rain fly because it'll be clear. But hopefully this will help keep some warmth up there. Only time will tell. But anyway, that's the long short on the gear that goes into the pack. As far as the pack is concerned, same pack that I took on the AT. It is an Osprey Atmos 65 liter. As far as reviews on this are concerned, love it to death. Does have some downsides, but we can talk about that another time. For now, going to be enjoying the hammock and the sleeping bag. I've already compressed it, and it compresses to about half the size of my cheapo bag, which is just like a Target bought $45, $50 sleeping bag that says it's rated to 30 degrees, but it means it's rated to 45 degrees. So this will be a test to see if Marmot's telling the truth about that pack, and yeah, it's the gear that goes out. Okay, so one little addendum, something I missed as I was going through the list of everything that was on the table. Actually, two things I missed. First being this third green dry bag. This third green dry bag has camp essentials is what I would call it in there. It has biodegradable soap. It's good for body, hair, and as well as dishware, which is nice. Also has a deck of cards just for entertainment purposes are concerned with your colleagues, your co-hikers, your co-backpackers, whatever you want to call them, friends. It also has, what else does it have inside of it? Toilet paper. Biodegradable toilet paper is always a good thing to have, especially if you have ladies present, because they tend to use it a little more frequently than we men do. Backup batteries. I think there are 6 AAAs in there for both headlamps, and that's probably it. So yeah, that's it. The only other thing that I bring out that wasn't on the table is actually on my head, and that's my buff. Love my buff. Big believer in buffs. I actually think it's the best and most versatile piece of clothing to come out over the last 50 years. So if you don't have a buff, get a buff. If you don't know why you should get a buff, talk to anybody that's got a buff and they'll tell you. Anyway, this is Strix signing off. Hopefully this helped, and leave any questions or comments you might have down below. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you did not enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. But also, I'm a fan of criticism. If you're going to give me a thumbs down, please leave a comment below as to why you left said thumbs down. If you want to see more videos, please subscribe. That's the best way to let me know that I should keep doing this. Otherwise, I'm just wasting my time. So yeah, Strix signing off. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.